Hi, the Midnight Hardinero here, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how to harvest and clean cactus seeds. When a cactus blooms, if pollination was successful, a fruit will form with viable seeds inside. Once ripe, they need to be harvested and cleaned so that the seeds will be ready for sowing. First, harvest the ripe fruits from your plants. In a future video, I'll show you what to look for to know if a fruit is ready to be harvested, but for now, let's assume that you already have some ripe fruits on hand. This first method, we will be processing the seeds without any water. I call this the dry method. The ripe fruit is cut or split open to expose the seeds, and the seeds are scooped or scraped out and then spread on a piece of tissue paper or kitchen towel. I find that this method works really well for fruits that don't have too much pulp or fruits that are a little dry and with small seeds. The pulp, seeds and all, are smeared on the tissue paper, spread out, and then allowed to dry. Generally, it's much less messy to split the fruits open first, but with some fruits you can also just squeeze or crush the fruits directly on the tissue paper and just mush it down to spread the pulp. Here, I am spreading the entire contents of a single fruit on a small piece of tissue paper. It's a little dry and doesn't have a lot of pulp. Anyway, once the pulp is spread out, everything is allowed to dry, and in warm weather, the seeds can be ready to be scraped or picked up from the paper for storage within a day or two. For this next method, which I call the wet method, we will use some water and a few extra tools. The fruit is cleaned and split open as before, and the seeds and pulp scraped out into a fine mesh screen or sieve. Make sure the sieve's holes are small enough so the cactus seeds don't fall through, as cactus seeds can be tiny. The fruit I'm working with now has a bit more juicy pulp, and it's split open once it was ripe. But still, to make it less messy, I'm making more cuts just to be able to scrape away the pulp a little bit easier. Once the fruit is split open, I try to open it up and push the pulp out more rather than just scooping the flesh from the inside. And make sure no seed falls off or any pulp flies away. I also make sure to remove all of the flesh and seeds, as sometimes they can be hiding in a crevice or corner of the fruit. The same with the dry method, sometimes you can just crush the fruit directly onto the sieve, but I prefer not doing so because it's less messy. Here's what's left of the fruit once all of the pulp has been scraped out. For the actual cleaning, prepare a small basin or bowl with some water, then gently rub the flesh and seeds inside the sieve while immersing it in the water. This method works well for fruits with wet, juicy, or pulpy fruit, as it cleans away the flesh better than the dry method. The resulting seeds are also somewhat cleaner, although the extra work and tools can be a bit of a bother and can be messy. The seeds are rubbed against the mesh of the sieve until most or all of the pulp surrounding them are dislodged. This can actually also be done under running water, but you run the risk of losing seeds with the water splashing around, so I prefer to take my time using a bowl or basin instead. In between rubbing, the sieve can be dunked in and out of the water or swirled around to really separate the seeds from the pulp. I'll be doing exactly that for a couple of minutes, and we'll be changing the water several times. That's the first cleaning done, so I take the sieve out of the water and inspect the seeds. I do this process several times until I think the seeds are clean enough. Other than just rubbing the seeds against the sieve, you can also pick up large bits of pulp or skin using a pair of tweezers. The seeds are cleaned before sowing or storage because any bit of pulp, flesh, or fruit that remains may end up being cause for mold or fungal growth. those can harm the seeds while germinating or while being stored. The downside to this wet method is it takes a bit longer for the seeds to dry out sufficiently afterwards, so make sure to give them some time to dry out properly, because damp seeds may spoil or invite all sorts of problems. The seeds are now really clean and good to go, so they're given one final rinse and taken off the water. The same with the drying method, the seeds will be spread out and allowed to dry on a piece of tissue paper or kitchen roll. Gently rub or scrape away the moist seeds from the sieve and spread them out on the tissue paper. Sometimes it's also just easier to use your fingers to scrape the seeds onto the tissue paper because tiny wet seeds are difficult to move around. Just make sure that you don't lose any seed or send them flying away at this point. Also, try to spread the seeds on a thin layer so that they will dry faster and more evenly. Once the seeds have been spread around, dry them for at least a few days away from really strong sun or any insects or other animals. And once the seeds are dry, you can then prep them for storage or sow them directly. Make sure to put your labels so you know which is which, and so you have an idea what seeds you're going to be planting. For storage, I like to store them in between clean new sheets of folded tissue paper or in small Ziploc plastic bags or glassine paper envelopes. Don't forget to put the label, and you're done. If you like my content, please click subscribe and hit that notifications bell. Thanks for watching.